especially two countries, as I said, Korea and US. We can proceed. So yeah, Thierry just left for grabbing a salad, but he'll be back. He'll be back soon. This afternoon, so it's going to be about the roadmap, defining what kind of things we need to focus on for the next 6 months. And again, just being to be so it's a bit more than 6 months. So here we had a quite light roadmap for the few months, but even with a light roadmap, we had some difficulties to fit it and to make to complete all the roadmap. Until the release, we still have at least 1 month, but still, the idea is to have a limited number of tasks, as always. Well, we know we have active people on this, whatever the dimension of the task and so on. The only thing is that it has to progress, and we agreed on those tasks actually because it's of interest of several people. It's just not like we want to do something, but we want together to work on this stuff, and we want to make it progress in the next months. And it's not a problem if sometimes for any reasons like virus contamination, unscheduled, worldwide, whatever, but that it takes a bit of delay. Just it gives visibility to everyone actually, for us to know how far we are in development, for external people also to see what are the plans in so far, and maybe to also easier. It would be easier for them to give help. So just it was for people, and it will be also in the recording. So the morning recap, there was two main topics this morning, namely first the roadmap update on SOFA Python 3, SOFA Qt Quick, and the project of updates of data and components in SOFA. That's the latter did not progress as expected, but the two others are actually still in progress. And we had also all the discussions going on out of roadmap topics about continuous integration, about modularization, SOFA Launcher, and Unity. I think we'll ask about Damien to get, as I said, a bit of information of projects going on, or I think ideas that he has for the core of SOFA to change, like he did on the aspects. Yeah, so that's a bit useless if there is no one here from like team or anyone else, but still, I mean, that's for everybody in the community. So I don't know how much Xiao you're actually using SOFA and or if you just started with SOFA, but that's the reminder of earlier this morning. The idea of this contribution your own way is that any kind of contribution is always welcome. The only point is that if you are in the community, it means you are in a way contributing to it, whatever, if you're on the forum asking or replying to some questions, if you are financing the consortium, making donations, whatever, communicating about SOFA in any way, active on the documentation as well, and even better, as we mentioned just previously with Sergey and all the projects of this morning, it's code contribution, which is so a very, even the most valuable contribution that you can actually make to SOFA. And why doing that actually? Because all the purpose of contributing is that it motivates all the different partners to carry on supporting the project, namely INRIA. And that kind of information will also be useful for, as we said, Jörg Peters, who is away, but that will see see this video later on remotely. And it's that this motivation of other partners can motivate us to get also more staffing for the consortium, for the SOFA consortium. So it's not done yet. It's a possible increase. We are working on it, but the idea is that getting more interest, more members, more contributions to SOFA will also help in this increase of consortium staffing, which means so more people in the consortium staff, which means more people, more code. So SOFA would evolve obviously more and more quickly. So that came actually further to a report to INRIA management about the status of the community and the developments, and that's what we agreed on at the last executive committee, which is the second governance committee of SOFA. And we agreed on the following missions. That is the first one, the most important one, the SOFA modularization itself. It has been already introduced by Fred previously. So that's a project that we would like to sustain and to support even more. So with a dedicated engineer working full time on this. And still in this task, there would be two additional items that are cleaning the dependencies within SOFA. It's directly related to the modularization and documenting this work. In addition to this, there is three optional projects that would be added to that. Namely, first, the use of a package manager. So it would help the way we are actually, and again, as Christian mentioned this morning, it would also be related to the continuous integration. But working with this package manager would actually help significantly, in the install, in the configuration of people, and to get SOFA more easily. That's the end goal would be even to make a sudo apt install SOFA. That would directly work, but that's the idea of dealing with package manager. The second optional feature would be to make a proof of concept of a SOFA not using the visitor. We had already some discussions and ideas with Jean-Nicolas on the topic, and that could be an optional work that this engineer could work on. Replacing the OpenGL layer, which is another quite critical point that Fred rose a few weeks ago, because macOS won't support OpenGL for I think I don't remember what is the deadline, Fred.
There's no deadline, but it was deprecated like 2 years ago, I think.
Okay.
So apparently the custom for Apple is like to depreciate after 3 releases or 4 releases, I don't remember. So we have to expect at some point it will be removed.
Yeah, support dropped for OpenGL. So that's something
I think going further than this, even if we keep OpenGL, the OpenGL calls right now and so far quite old, I think. Fred, correct me, but they are very, very old.
Yeah, it's OpenGL 2, so yeah.
Yeah.
And also the OpenGL in Mac, even if it still exists, is already old version of the new version of OpenGL. So it's really not compatible between all. I mean, Linux and Windows are really state-of-the-art OpenGL, everything you want, but Mac is really not OpenGL friendly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's this kind of critical point, just like it was the case actually for SOFA Python 3, are important to notice. So I would say prior to deprecation, but actually it's more than prior deprecation, because it's already deprecated. So we really need to know what we want to do with that. Stefan said last week that basically it was some kind of, if there was nothing done, it was basically losing macOS compatibility, which is not completely false, wrong, which is pretty true. So we need, it was to think about replacing this OpenGL layer in SOFA, and even going towards something else than OpenGL. So that's, but again, main task was SOFA modularization. That was really the main task of this additional increase of consortium staffing. We could discuss that together. If you disagree about some, I mean, if you think that there would be more important topics to focus on, it's always interesting to discuss that. But that would be really for the moment the idea of this additional engineer. And so as it is actually stressed down the slide, so more contribution and involvement means always more staffing. So the more we are, the bigger the project is. So the more you talk about SOFA and things happen, the more we will be able to gather forces and engineering forces especially. So that's quite important for all the different partners, and we hope to have at the SOFA consortium a greater and more important impact on the development in the core of SOFA. So Now we arrive to the part of defining together the SOFA roadmap. So it would be then for the 2012. So the roadmap and all the objectives that we define ourselves for the release in December, because the release in June is already set up, and we'll keep what we just did. I don't know if Guillaume, you can remove the small smile in the slide.
I don't know how to remove it. I'm trying.
And how we will define the task of this new release for December. It's actually simple. We'll make a roundtable. Everyone has to explain what are your plans or even desires, but for the next months, and agree on some projects that we know will be feasible. Will be feasible in the amount of time, with the amount of resources we have, and most importantly, the resources which are involved in the different tasks. That was really the kind of questions I think that we need to ask ourselves for defining the roadmap. It's what kind of developments or technical developments we all have in sight for the next November 2020 and for these coming months. And those developments, what do they mean? Sorry for the slide. Is that a feature, a cleaner fix, or whatever else? Is that a new project, continuing project in the core of SOFA or in a plugin? But this and is that of interest of anyone else? And then from that, we will aggregate people on different topics and define really the steps of those tasks. So I propose, I really wanted to hear. I don't know if Xiao, you wanted to take just the mic for a few seconds, explaining us, what you're interested in so far, what's your expertise in so far, and it's not a problem to say that you just started with it, but just to have an idea of what your interest in so far is actually. So she was supposed to be reconnected at 1:30, and I got some news. I don't know if you can speak for your lab or for your team. Okay. I'll try to move on otherwise. But so next one on my list, and I think we can browse. I'm just going to browse the list of attendees here. Then I'll take each one of you. It would be really what kind of project you have, and what does it mean in SOFA or in some plugins. I'll start with you, Eric.
With me? You mean for the core of SOFA?
Yeah, I mean, can be also outside from SOFA. It's just, it has to be linked to the core of SOFA in a way, but or it has to be, for instance, a plugin that could be, at some point get back to SOFA. If nothing, just letting us know about your developments. It's always of interest. So just say anything that comes to your mind for developments inside.
What I really would like to do inside the core of SOFA is try to regroup. For example, we know that we have a lot of different finite element methods, and there is no, I would say, same API for the different components. So sometimes it's, for me, as I'm doing communication with other software, it would be very nice to have a generic way to describe, for example, finite element, one triangle, etc. Then certainly we'll do some stuff on the topology. I'm really considering to do fusion, to merge the mesh topology and the container, to have only one component of topology and an option to say if you want to handle dynamic topology change. That's
okay. So because the dynamic topology change, I get this one, and homogenization of API for force field, right?
Yeah, force field. I mean force field and other things. All the components in SOFA are doing their own way of doing things.
Okay. Is there a priority for you between the two? You know, between API homogenization and topology change?
No.
Okay. All right. Next one on the list is Bruno. Bruno, since you already spoke, Bruno and Eric, I did not ask you, what you have done in the past months. For the others that we did not hear yet, it can be interesting to know what you have been doing in SOFA. What is related to SOFA. So Bruno, can you let us know for this part as well?
For past or future?
No. Past. Again, you already had the mic, so no problem.
So future then.
All right. So, well, my contract ends end of October, so that might actually be the last STC I do with you. I know I said that a year and a half ago already. But this means that by the end of October, I have enough to do, I think, with the SOFA Qt Quick. So that will keep on being my focus, since it usually involves working a bit also on data updates, or at least on fixing some components to, use the component state properly, update themselves properly with their data fields and so on. So there might be a bit of work on this. And of course, there will always be a bit of SOFA Python 3 also associated with this. But except for that, it should be it.
I have a question and remark regarding SOFA Qt Quick. So if there are other person interested by this SOFA Qt Quick, I think given just the calendar that Bruno presented, it would be nice to have maybe people involved on this topic also. So I'm thinking of several actions. I think that would be, I don't know if like today, how it could be integrated into the continuous integration. Also, like if some people can also help on providing tests.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, that I won't hide it. I mean, I don't need to anyway, because you saw how it looks. I'm not great at CI setups, and SOFA Python was the first plugin, I think, that really could have used a good CI setup that I didn't have. And SOFA Qt Quick now starts to be kind of on the same level. Well, SOFA Qt Quick is kind of a graphical tool, so it's even more complicated for tests and CIs to set up properly. But I would definitely need some help on that. And I think if I had a good CI, the developments I would do and you would potentially do as contributors on it would be way easier to merge and integrate.
So my remark is really to also maybe to benefit of this meeting of today, to see if we have other groups than Defrost interested in this project, and maybe if we can also gather interest on this topic, maybe we can also have other people than our team involved in this effort. I think you already made like 30 I would say no, 70% of the effort, I would say, and maybe there is just the remaining effort to be made, we can maybe share it. And it will be even easier if we have a large number of people. Otherwise, it could be maybe too specific to defrost needs.
Of course.
So for me, it's something that we should probably put in the roadmap of SOFA, because just for a question of it will be just to finish also things, you know, if we let it without finishing it properly, it will be like a very nice development, but if it's too buggy, people will not. I think it's not integrated in the current pipeline of SOFA. It will not be.
And I think you're also right to say, like, other teams, if they appropriate themselves the tool, they might find a different kind of use case and different kind of features that they would want, and they could drive the development also, because I mean, extending the tool is always a good idea. So maybe there are features that we don't use for.
Bruno, we cannot hear you.
Oh, sorry. Better?
Yeah. Actually, I can hear.
Yeah, I can too.
Ah.
It's from you, Eric. It's not you who said you can't.
I think no, I think it was Christian.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's me, and so probably it's my connection. Sorry.
It's okay.
No,
all right. Okay. So yeah, we noted SOFA Quick, which is basically your project. So you're gonna work on that. Data object data updates. You'd be curious. SOFA Python 3 is still curious, but what Christian said is really important point to push further and up to the end. I would say not too many additional features and so on, but really make it more stable, SOFA Quick, so that we can get something really more stable, more usable, and also for a wider use for everyone. Because otherwise there would be a risk of abandon of this work, which is.
I think that's the main thing. If I look at Mimesis, I don't think anyone will try it right now, probably because it's may not be stable enough. But I'm sure if we get like a stable version, even if not all functionalities works, as soon as people try to play with it, they will fall in love with it, and then it will start to gather a little bit more people. Probably, I guess it's like SOFA Python 3. It doesn't. I mean, it's not that stable, but the core functionalities are enough so that people can start playing with it, and then it's now integrated in the team. But for SOFA Qt Quick, it's still like an obscure thing. We have seen your demo and everything, but yeah, we should push people to install it and work with it a little bit. But if it's too unstable or too slow, then people will just drop it and use the old one until we got a more stable versions.
Yeah, I think there is I mean, everything is true in what you said, and especially one part. And I think, but we have to do that at the right time. It's to, at a point, force a part of the people, a part of the community, a part of some research teams and so on, because finally, when they are on it, what is complicated is to move. When you're on it and finally you get used to it, it's done. But indeed, as you said, we need to reach a sufficient level of stability, which has far from that not to be stable. Just not to be no crash or just a crash. Sometimes crashes are okay, but just usable in a usable manner. So as long as it works this way, and we make sure it goes I think it would be the objective for October, because it's your deadline, Bruno. It would be far from perfect, because it's such a wide project that to make it perfect would take you already did quite a lot of things. So just to focus now, making sure that
the core functionalities work.
And not alone, not alone.
Yeah.
Also, it will allow people to contribute, because currently they can contribute on if they want to have something usable, they use run SOFA1, and if they want some to improve it, then they have to contribute on that, and that's pretty bad. I mean, not sure we want improvement on run SOFA1.
There is no doubt to me that runtime stability is the #1 topic now on.
Do you know the status of Quick on Windows?
Windows has never been tested. We don't have any Windows user. We have had our first user on Mac recently, and he didn't have any issue. But I know that on Windows there would be plenty of issues because I mean, there are plenty of file system related things that are not at all.
I tried actually, yeah. But
yeah, that was I was going to say. I'm sure Fred tried it.
That's why I tried, and that's why I did a PR on SOFA Python 3 because you need SOFA Python 3 to compile pretty quick, and of course it was not compiling and everything.
No,
but the thing is, I compiled, but I had only white windows and stuff, so I was like, okay, give up immediately.
So you know, cross-platform compatibility was not on the on the list of tasks for my contract also. So it was not a priority, of course. So there are a lot of things, for example, that might look like obvious features for the community, but might not have been like priority features for us, and so we might have disregarded them for a little while. So yeah, but just to bounce back to what you said before you go, I don't believe that you can force people to switch tools and to go on something that doesn't work. The only way to motivate people to move on a different tool is to have features that other tools don't have. So I think it's the case now on SOFA Qt Quick. So I think it's if anything will bring contributors, it will be the new features and not us trying to force users to switch to a tool that's buggy, because that will not happen until they have a motivation themselves, you know. Just to
you're right. No, but I mean that's why what I meant by finding the right moment to do it, because we need to have the sufficient interest, and then that's giving the right push to people to then make the small effort of changing. Okay. Jean-Nico, you're the next in my list, so you were talking. It's quite convenient, but so you're at the end of your PhD, but again, we are projecting things, even if again you're whatever happens for later on and so on. But what would be your plan? That's really broad, and maybe what you have been doing also for the last months, if of interest. I mean, I'll let you.
I mean, for so far, the largest one I did, it's not that big. It was removing this old Eigen version from SOFA. So it was a version that dated from 3 years ago, I think. So I have removed Eigen from within SOFA. Now SOFA will search in the system for whatever Eigen version it finds, and it's working with recent version of Eigen. So that's good, because we are using now Eigens a lot inside our plugins. Eigen is, I think, very well optimized to do matrix vectors operations. It already have Python bindings, so it works super well with the SOFA Python 3 plugins. So right now with this, we can use whatever version of Eigens since version 3.2, I think, and it should work with SOFA. And the next thing is, well, my PhD plugin, if we want. It's still, I mean, it's open on the public on GitHub. I'm still working on some kind of hyperelastic force field, which is generic to the element type and the material type. So because I need it for my research, it starts to be stable. But as soon as I have documentation finished and something that I'm really sure it's stable and validated, I will probably give it to Hugo so that the community can know a little bit more about it. But yeah, right now I'm starting my. I have 4 months left before giving my thesis to review, so it will be probably won't be that present for the next month.
That's also, that's part of what I want. I was expecting you know, also to say that, so that basically everyone knows what people are doing, why they disappear, appear, and so on. That's normal life of community, but that's always good to know. If you are looking for also contribution later on your work, let us know whenever it's the good time to get contribution, because it can be, you know, some kind of private up to a point, like you know, you, me, few people, or whatever, the people that you'd like. We can also start opening a bit, but in terms just of contribution, and not necessarily wide usage for the moment. But if you are looking for contribution, I know again that the people of University of Florida wants to start working on, and I think they did start working on elastic models on Hexaedra. But not only elastic, but also adding plasticity to it, and even not only linear hexaedra, but also quadratic hexaedra. So basically, they were interested in all that. They are interested in implementing all that. So either we let people continue with what is in SOFA because it's working, and it's perfectly usable and it will work, or that's really up to you. Just let us know when to plug in people.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna be with you guys until at least March the next year. So it's only until September this year that I will be quite busy, but after that I will be much more available to SOFA stuff.
Is this already official, or?
It's pretty close to official, but not. There's a good chance.
Okay, so I got the reply of previously. So Chiao, who is joining us, and is not using SOFA yet, just curious and looking at how solving the motion of continuum robots. So for the notice. All right, thank you very much, Jean-Nico, for all the details. Fred, you're next.
Yes. So what is the question again?
You can look at the slide which is displayed. What would be, so what you've done in the previous part, you already talked about that. So it will be more your plans for the coming months and hope, desires, and what should possibly happen, and so on.
Still for the modularization, still. Towards the SOFA-NG stuff, so modularization and other things, like you said before. And also, I've done the SOFA Qt3D part, last STC, but I don't think it's a good way to go. So I want to find another way to replace the drawing in SOFA. I have some hints, but I won't disclose it yet. Other than that, mostly for the visualization and the modularization of SOFA. So I guess I will push to modularize everything and test in SOFA. And as for the plugins, I have some private stuff, but I'm working mostly with Unreal Engine. I have some pretty good ideas to do, and one on the ultrasound plugin.
Okay.
It's still stalled, but I will see if I can make it work finally or not.
Okay. This again, as you know, I think we could be of great interest for the community. That we can also add. I don't know, because I know that I'm looking at the notes, but just to remind to add in the notes that you're working on the ultrasound plugin, so that it is known in the community that it does exist, and it will be for open for collaboration and so on. So, okay, thank you, Fred. Thank you. Next one on the list, so Sergey, I think it will be quite similar to what Jean-Nicolas said, because you're ending as well the PhD, right?
Yeah. And yeah, I have more or less the same time as Jean-Nicolas.
Yeah.
No, but what I wanted to add is that in my case, it and maybe in case of Safa contribution, will be mainly Optimus plugin. Because finally I want to maybe put it to integrate it inside the Safa. Of course, it's up to Stefan who will do the final decision. But I guess it will be nice to finish the work on it.
Sergey, can you just explain very quickly what's the Optimus plugin?
Okay, so yeah, my research topic is estimation of boundary conditions, and 2 years ago, when I looked at how to estimate them the best way, I decided to switch to Kalman filtering approach. And based on what we observe on the object, in my case, it's the liver, to estimate, based on observations, estimate the parameters for boundary conditions. And so this Kalman filtering approach is implemented in Optimus plugin. So the main idea of Optimus plugin is implementation of Kalman filter and perform an estimation of parameters under interest based on simulation, based on Safa simulation.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Well, yeah, something like this.
Yeah, and so you were mentioning your work on the Optimus plugin. Do you know what is the status of the plugin? I mean, in up to what point it is ready to be released, or up to you? Do you think it's already ready, or?
Well, it's a good question. Up to what point it's released? Because I'm working on Linux, and on Linux the plugin works. I mean, we could estimate you could use several filter options like consortium, reduce order, and how it's called, simulation correction type of filter. And you could integrate it with Safasyn and try to estimate the stiffness parameters or the parameter of springs, of polynomial springs, or maybe even simple springs.
Okay. On this part again.
But then it haven't been run on Windows system. It haven't been verified. I don't know. I know that Nava uses it, and maybe that's it, because I don't know who else use it. So it still might be nice that several people will try it and see how it works.
Yeah. For that, I can really tell you from what just happened a few weeks ago with the skeletonization plugin. You know, a plugin creating center lines based on a mesh. We put that on the Safa marketplace, so just a bit more visibility. We talked about that on the forum. It has been immediately used, and feedback were given within a few days, actually just one day, but because it was a hot topic. But I think we could have very in a very short amount of time feedback on how the plugin is compiled. Does it work on several platforms and whatever problem? I mean, whatever problems could rise, they would come from the community. But that's, I think we need to work a bit on this part for promoting a bit the plugin, releasing it in open source, and so on. I'm not sure it will be done for the release of June. It sounds a bit short.
No, it's not. It's maybe for since I'm also busy with my thesis, I guess.
Yeah.
The end of the year.
And a A bit in the same way, it reminds than the remark of Christian about the continuous integration. You made a lot of tests, I know, for on this plugin. It would be, we need to think about how you know to ensure, you know, the stability of such plugins in time, you know, so to find some ways to get them.
Yeah, but if you remember, I did benchmark tests and I put them on as cron task. So every day when computer is turned on, the tests are run, and yeah, but unfortunately I have to verify it by myself to see if the difference between benchmark results and current results are small enough. It's the only problem, but otherwise they run on automatic way, and if the difference is huge, it means definitely there is some problem during the last release.
But we have regression test on SOFA, and this is already a pipeline, so we should be able to integrate your plugin in these kind of tests. So it basically tests if the results we have today are the same as yesterday before changing.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. No, but it's the same. What do you mean the same? It might be the difference has to be small, but it might not be the same because it's floating point computations. So.
It should not be worse than it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay. Was.
All right. Thank you, Sergey. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, please go ahead, Sergey.
No, that's it. That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
So yeah, that's maybe it's something we could add, you know, for the Optimus release of. I mean, the release of the Optimus plugin could be very nice. And again, the more advertisement, it's not only a question of just making ads for making ads, but advertisement really helps in, you know, making the work done and known, making this work known, making this work tested in terms of other people are using it. They assess if it compiles or not. So it's always quite. I mean, we can just look at the soft robot plugin. We've never got, and that's actually so again what Xiao, who is joining us today, is using and interested in. What most people on the forum are coming for. On the forum, they are coming because there is a tutorial, an open source plugin. So the more like Optimus plugin, the more plugin there will be open source, the more interest there will be, and the more usage, and then the stability and maintenance of the code will be made so easier.
Yeah, but now Optimus plugin is not open source. It's actually Mimesis plugin.
Yeah. But we will work on that.
It's a good question how to make it open source, because I don't know the policy of.
I'm working on this part. So,
okay.
And we will work together on the, you know, on the code on your side, on the, I would say, legal part on my side, and we'll see that together. Okay.
Okay.
Next one is Olivier. I don't know if Olivier, you have specific ideas, specific developments. Again, everything is on the slide. You know, what kind of developments do you have in sights? Maybe your child will already start coding in Sora. Maybe it's time.
No, not quite, but. Well, for me, I've been working mostly on an extension of the model order reduction plugin.
Mm-hmm.
So to include reduction of the contact force. So to allow to speed up simulations when you have a lot of contacts.
You said reduction of contact forces?
Yeah, you can't hear me very well.
No. It's just me. I was looking.
I speak in my beard.
No, he's a little bit old. You know, he's getting old. He cannot hear.
What did you say?
Papi, go.
Yeah. So yeah, the reduction of contact forces, reduction of the lambda, basically.
You mean the dimension?
And mostly self-collision, right?
Yeah, at the moment, mostly for the case of, so when we talk about soft robotics, for the case of a robot colliding with itself. So it's like collisions that are quite predictable, not really collisions with the outside world, let's say.
Okay.
Which is more challenging. So.
But it could have applications, I think, in surgical.
I
can already see something where it would be super interesting. There is a PhD postdoc, sorry, student. I don't know if Stephanie's here. He could have talked about that as well. But a postdoc student who should apparently be collaborating between University Luxembourg and the Mimesis team in Strasbourg, where they would work on some models of cables, but complex cables where they want to model the interactions between beams, and there would be a lot of contacts, and I think the reduction of contacts could be very interesting there. So
okay, I can't promise it would work in that case, but so yeah, that's the main code development I think I focused on, and on a side thing, there's an artist like the guy who does origami.
Yeah.
Who wants to continue the collaboration? So maybe I will. I was developing some origami simulation.
Okay.
And simple ones in so far. So I may spend a little time on that. By the way, Christian, I sent you an email about this morning. If you can check sometime today.
And
I will check my mail.
and your extension of the more plugin was what you have been working and what you will work, I guess, also in the coming months, right? Or is
yes.
it done? I guess it's not done yet. Right?
I have a first version, and
okay.
I'm writing a paper, but it is not made so that it is like usable.
Okay.
It's like right now it's like uglily coded
alpha version
to make it work.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good to see, because again that's typically the kind of things that are good to know as well. I mean, the model order reduction plugin is open source, so that's really interesting for everyone. And again, we could promote it again a bit more when it comes up. I think it's already online. It's already on the marketplace. All right. I had Tim here. Tim here in the list, but I think he's not back here. Next one would be Thierry. Thierry, maybe you can let us know again. Maybe make the past and future, because we didn't hear you in this morning. Thierry, where are you?
And I forget to demute myself.
Yeah, perfect.
Yay. I mean, I don't have much to say. I mean, other than what I said the previous meeting, which is I didn't have time to work on so far, and the only pull request that I still have pending is currently stuck because I didn't. It introduced a bug that I didn't manage to fix myself. So the announcement is that if there is some kind of OpenGL, I won't say God, but someone that know more than me in OpenGL, which isn't difficult, is more than welcome to look at this pull request.
Could you point it out for us?
Let me a second. I will just put the
link in the
link. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Or the pull request number.
Yeah, if you just have the number, it's sufficient.
Basically, just about the headless recorder component. Currently, in so far, there is a 3 recorder the plan is to remove one of them, well, merge two of them. This has numerous advantages, but as I said, it introduces a bug. And that's it. I'll put down the link
Okay.
when I
okay.
finally manage to log on GitHub.
And what about the future plans? What's your future actually, Thierry?
That's a good question. Currently, it still have to be decided, but yeah, currently it's not yet decided. So,
do you mean on a contract point of view, or do you mean
on a contract point of view? I'm there until February or March. I don't remember when this ends. 2021. So
okay, so there's still a bit of time, and actually there is still time, more than a bit, and that's really something. And again, that's something we need to see a bit. So together, and maybe also with people. So mode in Rennes, but also with others if interested. I don't know if Alexandre would be interested to join as well. But the idea is, again, as we said at the beginning, contributing in any way is what matters. So if you can't contribute directly to SOFA because it's too much applicated, or because you're the only, you're the only engineer, and I guess you're coordinating somehow all the developments of the PhDs in Rennes. But to find some ways, to find some alternative way of collaborating, it can be, and not only of yourself. I mean, not only for yourself. I mean, all the PhD, it can be mode ourselves, finding way to collaborate, finding ways to, I don't know, for the PhD help on the form, but finding a way to collaborate in a way. Because with the, I mean, you're back. I mean, you're quite often with us on the Wednesday meeting, and that's already very good. I mean, for us in terms of development, knowing what you do, but I would be glad, to get a step further, at least with Mode, to see how we can collaborate better. Because just to see that. And again, for these future, developments that and technical developments inside for 2020. Even if it's a bit later on, I would be really glad to hear what would be the plan in Rennes. After discussion,
so still have to be decided. So
and
I
that's
have
perfectly okay. But if you
few
can get back
other
to us.
things on that have to be done. So I hope that we'll be able to push some code, but for the near future,
Okay.
that won't do.
Okay.
But
so near future.
I don't know if you saw the remark of Younes in the chat.
No.
So Younes is using actually this pull request in its actual state to create the headless sofa that he talked about this morning.
Yes.
So he's proposing to work with you, Thierry, to make it merged.
And thank you, Younes, for that. I don't know if you're speaking, Thierry, because you maybe you got muted again, but slides. There. Okay. Can you still hear me? Yeah, it's okay. Guillaume?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Right. Thank you, Thierry. Who is Thierry left or whatever? No? Yeah, I don't see Thierry anymore in the list.
Oh, okay. Yes, he left.
Okay. That's why he did not reply to you, Younes, I guess. Christian, I don't know if you have Christian, Stefan, and Riyad for the 4 last ones. Maybe just global remarks, or if you want to get involved directly, do not hesitate to let us know, Christian. Let's start with let's start with you, Christian.
Oui.
You want to implement a new force field?
No, but there are so many things going on. So just so again, the idea is to to fix some priority. I think there are many development going on again. There is I'm thinking of particularly like finishing what we have done. So particularly so far Python 3, like there is still a lot of to do in that for merging all the to adapting all the scenes that were written in Python 2. There is a lot to do again on SOFA Qt Quick. There is I want to insist on the continuous integration that was presented this morning. I think these are very important work, and we have been talking about also new ideas, like how to simplify the process in SOFA, particularly the visitor process, which is difficult to follow, but and also the problem of how the systems, the mechanical system is built. It's very hard to understand what is computed in SOFA, what equation is really implemented. People have a lot of difficulty to understand that. So I think if you sum up already what I've said, it's a lot. So I think we probably for me the most interesting part of the discussion is what priority we fix, who can be really involved, and also how we manage to find new people and to find also new way of financing people for the future. For instance, just this morning there is something.
Yeah. Okay, I muted Rob now.
Okay,
it's okay.
This morning I was talking with the head of a proposal of Equipex for the robotics community. We may have some money to do development in SOFA towards the robotics community. But we need to really have clear idea of what we want to provide. Mm-hmm. So for me, the good strategy is to really say define what we need to do in the future month, define who is working on what, and then what is missing and how we try to find the money for what is missing.
Okay. So basically it comes back to what you said. So there is many things going on. We need to fix priorities and to complete the ongoing work. Then we have plenty of new ideas and finding money to make those ideas becoming reality.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Christian. Stéphane, same.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly share some of the points that Christian mentioned. That's for sure. I think one element that we are still missing a lot and that we find in other software that's more used by the mechanical community is the ability to write equations at a very high level and have the computations sort of happen by magic using all the numerical tools that we can find in Phoenix and other things. And of course, there's the question of computational efficiency. So it's maybe not possible to win on at every level. But for instance, with Jean-Nicolas, we've seen that, or with Riyad, when people make suggestions about some very cool new ideas that involve very, I would say, advanced differentiation methods and stuff like that, models that are very nonlinear. It is really, really, really difficult to implement that, if actually even possible. So, but it's possible in other frameworks. And on the other end, in the other frameworks like Phoenix, there's lots of things you cannot do that you can do in SOPA. So it'd be awesome, I think, to be able to find a way of at least achieving some of those things, maybe not all of them, to be able to easily introduce better, new models, whether they are for deformation, for contacts, and other stuff. That's one topic. So it's more wish than anything. It's a wish, but based on some practical considerations. These are things that we are currently dealing with, and it'd be nice to be able to find a way of getting there. The other I would say direction we are actively working on is deep learning, and so there's the Optimus package that Sergey mentioned, which is more, I would say, the old school machine learning, where you're learning from observations and you're estimating parameters of a model. But there's the whole new stuff with deep learning and CNNs, and we are making big changes in what we initially started in this plugin. Hopefully we release that at some point. I mean, it's done by people who are doing their PhD, and we have to manage all of this, but this is something that will certainly interest a lot of people, and it'd be great to get some feedback on that at some point. As long as the API is not stable and we are fixing way too many bugs right now, it makes no sense, I think, to share it. But this is something we want to do. We have new cool results, and it'd be nice to share that with the community. So I am sure we'll talk more about that in November. But this is some important part of our activity right now.
I'd be more, regarding the API changes. It's actually, I got exactly recently the same remark from, it was from Jean-Nicolas for the SOPA Python 3, or it was Damien, I don't remember, saying, but the API is still changing, and we would need to still be able to change it quite a lot. Yeah. I think we need to decrease this fear of, as soon as people come, we can't change things anymore. I think we never have to wait too long before releasing it in open source, because even it's a bit like the video of Bruno, right? The video of Bruno, without subtitles, without voiceover. Okay, it's not perfect, but at least it's something that people can already have a look at. When there is a paper, they can already refer to the code and test it themselves. Yeah. And I perfectly get the point where it's not the API is not perfect, and it would be some kind of releasing a bit dirty code. But I think even for papers, it's always better. I think it's always better to get a code instead of getting nothing, and it will make more and more the promotion of the research, and maybe even ease the maintenance and the transition after the PhD is over. I'm obviously biased by myself, but yeah,
biased.
yeah, but yeah, because
no,
and
right.
currently it would have such an impact. I mean, it would be, people would be so curious about, so eager to see what is in a plugin about machine learning and CNN. It would be, yeah, I think it could be nice. But I'm not pressing for anything. Just saying, don't wait for not a perfect API, not even a close to perfect API. An API is enough, even if it's changing, and that's my opinion. But,
and actually, there is, if in the next 2 days we have time to address some of the issues we are facing around that, I think it would also help us know, what to do next. The baseline of what is making things, I would say, relatively difficult is that we are deeply integrating PyTorch through SOFA Python 3 with SOFA. And because we have to do things differently than what we usually do in SOFA, that means we have to add lots of new animation loops with new events that we are catching at the right time to be able to send data to the GPU, start training. And it's very, first it's complicated to do, but then it gets, again, very difficult to understand and read, because it's like we have two parallel codes, one which is what happens in SOFA with the animation loop, and one which is, the other code that you will see in the Python 3 script. And I'm still hoping that one day we can actually maybe expose the animation loop in Python and directly hook things up so that you only read one script, which is basically saying every single step of a time step, and be able to put your own algorithms in there. And we very briefly discussed that yesterday with Jean-Nicolas, and I don't know what's possible and what should be done and what should not be done, based also on computational efficiency aspects. But even independently of machine learning plugins, I think if some people are interested in discussing how to better expose the animation loop in Python, and maybe, again, simplifying all of the visitor aspects to have a more readable code, I'm all for it. So that's, to me, a very important element that could really make some other developments faster and easier to handle. Because I think if, for instance, we wanted to have more people help us on that particular topic right now.
What's on that part? What do you mean? What would make development faster?
I think if we didn't have to write code that goes very deep into mechanical operations, visitors, new events, and modifying animation loops, to be able to develop, for instance, the code we develop for the machine learning, I think this would make the development faster, easier, and also allow people to better understand, every piece of code. Otherwise, it's what I've said many times. You read a piece of code, but to really understand what it does, you need to have a deep understanding of SOFA, its architecture, and the many events and visitors that are going to be fired as you execute this code. And I think it's a very specific aspect of SOFA. And I think it's one that limits how many people people can actually contribute and even debug code that goes into this. And I'm not saying we should get rid of all the visitor mechanisms and things like that, but maybe trying to at least simplifying it as a first stage. And I think one way of simplifying that would be to maybe expose more of that into Python.
Yeah. Yeah, so it covers quite a lot of topics, and I think that's again, again, if you join the endpoint of SOFA NextGen, or the same for SOFA visitorless and so on, we might come up to the SOFA you are actually talking about, but it mixes. I mean, it's at the merge of many limitations of SOFA which are existing today, and that that need actually implementation. Okay. So I still have Stefan, who is here, I think.
Yeah, I'm here.
So again, what you have been up to in the last months, in a few words, and again for the future, if you have plans of developments, or I know you are making, you were collaborating for Heart and SOFA, which was great, and so yeah, if you have any other plans like that in the coming months, let us know.
Yeah. So So hello everyone. So my work as a postdoc has been concentrated on sensing. So that means also a big part of my work is fabrication of devices in silicon mostly. And the most recent work is to implement a capacitive touchpad to sense a contact's location on the silicon pad, like on a silicon structure, and implementing the sensing of deformation as well. One of the applications we are seeing could be something like smart phantoms for medical training. So that would be devices that resemble human organs that can detach the contact interactions by means of the touchpad and the sensing of deformation, and could register and simulate the functioning of that, like the mechanical functioning of the object. So yeah, but my focus is really on the implementation of the sensing part. But there's also some aspects which I would like to look into, which would be shape optimization. So all of this, the implementation of the sensors requires that we look at the structure of the sensor itself, especially the deformation sensors. And to find the right shape, it's not trivial. So for that, we can use some sort of optimization to iteratively find the suitable designs. And my work is mostly in the plugins of Defrost, I would say. So it's mostly soft robots inverse. And development would be mostly, what I'm really interested now is SOFA Python 3, which means to update the templates and the examples that are existing. So that would be a more concrete contribution to the code base. In the future, for now, I was applying for a position as assistant professor in Chile. I have yet to obtain a response, but if I take this position, or if I get this position, I would continue in this direction, meaning this especially interests me, the sensing and the simulation. For now, I don't have anything else, but yes, I still have a few months as a postdoc, and so yeah, it could it's still open to see what happens.
Yeah.
And but also what I'm doing now, which I would really like to see, which is I'm motivated, is I've been using more Gmesh to, on the one side, generate the meshes, surface and volumetric meshes, but also I'm starting to use it to do parametric modeling, basically to generate the models by like the geometries by code in a parametric way, and then mesh them automatically. So
I guess it's for the part of shape optimization that you're interested. Okay.
So if I can if you,
hey, do you want to share your screen? Yeah.
Yeah, I can share a small bit of it, I think.
Yeah. I'll stop sharing.
Okay. So let me see. Oh, can I share my whole?
Yeah, you should be able to share the whole screen.
Okay. So so basically, Gmesh has an API for Python 3 in its newest version. So it's really nice. That's really what I was looking for integrating it with SOFA Python 3. And how it works for now, let's say I have a parameterized geometry. I can launch my generation. Let's see if it works. You can see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
So this geometry was generated by using the Python API of Gmesh, and I also launched the meshing process from Python. And so if let's say I want to change some parameters of my geometry, so I just, oops. It will take a second longer, I think. So now I made more segments and I changed the overall shape of the cavities which are embedded. And I can also launch this from SOFA.
You mean the whole from SOFA? So the meshing, okay.
Yeah, it's all running. So now, so you see that it's generated all the aspects of the scene or the object I want to model from. So yeah, I mean, after looking into it for a while, I realized it was not so difficult to do. So I'm really happy about it.
Yeah, that's good. That's great. It would be, it's actually indeed a good idea maybe to think about that in the SOFA Python plugin to add some example of coupling SOFA. I mean, bringing or using a Gmesh from a Python file. Everything started from SOFA. That could be very nice.
Yeah, I think that would be, and I think I would like it to use it from Qt Quick, meaning I wanted to make a widget.
Okay.
Which would allow you to do it. That would be interesting.
I don't remember if in SOFA Qt Quick there is the possibility to have a Python console, or run Python commands.
I don't know.
No, currently there is no Python console running inside inside SOFA. In fact, it's one thing that we wanted to do, but it might not be super smart because the problem with having a console is that we can't really trace the actions that we script. So the idea of SOFA Qt Quick for us is also to be able to record every step of the modeling phase, so that we could, for example, have a history and be able to go back in the modeling steps, a bit like we would in any CAD software. And if we allow a Python console, we have to accept that we lose the history at that point.
Okay.
But still, it's a feature that we will have at some point.
Okay. And yeah, what I wanted to say, Stefan, is that anything that you achieve, like we could almost, from what you did, what you just showed here, make what I said previously, like a scene example in Python, full Python for SOFA using Gmesh, showing that it's possible, if you install Gmesh and everything. But that would be something which would be very interesting to have in SOFA Python plugin. And second, for the shape optimization, more and more we're going to end up with some feature which are at the endpoint only some Python files, because a lot of things would be only Python, but we need, as previously C++ coders for some of us, not forget that this is very valuable as well. So a plugin, like we call a plugin, SOFA plugin, could also just be a repository, including some Python files that are running where you would need maybe a SOFA Python to have a SOFA version installed with SOFA Python install, to have Gmesh somewhere and so on, but to have some kind of a repository of some Python files that would allow you to make shape optimization just under some condition to have a SOFA installed with this and this plugin. And this would have a lot of value as well. So just to tell, and not only to you, Stefan, but to everyone, that if sometimes you get something working like you just showed us, I think it would interest so many people to be able to just just typing into a Python script to generate a lot of different kind of meshes. It was the case, as Fred told me, I remember of Christophe Paulus, a previous PhD in Strasbourg. He was doing that as well in his own way and so on. But to get a starting point for all the community to, if they are interested in shape optimization, it could be very, very nice to share that kind of stuff. Then, if you have a script working with some plugins, we could then just save it somewhere and share that to the community, explaining them what are the conditions of use of this plugin, and that's of these files, and that's it. But yeah, thank you. A nice presentation.
Yeah, I think so. Just a small comment is, I think the example shown by Bruno on SOFA Qt Quick could be extended. So actually the finger could be generated in this way as well. So we can describe just by in a Python way as an alternative. We can say, okay, this is how you define the set of points and generate everything from scratch.
Yeah.
So I was saying to him that maybe we can make also a part of this tutorial for SOFA Qt Quick. So the idea is to develop the widget, and that would be an example, the finger especially.
Okay.
If I may, so so two remarks. So I think we need to separate what is just meshing, because I think meshing is used for many other purposes than shape optimization.
Yeah.
The fact that you can automatically generate the mesh is really nice.
Yeah.
We find we already had this feature with Seagull plugin, but Gmesh is maybe providing other feature in terms of maybe you can parameterize maybe easier your mesh.
And again, you don't have to face all the issues that people are complaining on the forum. To compile both SOFA with Seagull to get the two are separated through the Python. So
just to add, in case you have compiled Seagull and Gmesh, Seagull now also have Python 3 bindings, so you can get all of this in Python, which is super cool. If you have an implicit surface like you do, Stefan, then Gmesh is awesome for that. If you have an explicit, so if you have a triangle mesh for the surface and you want to get tetrahedrons, then Seagull, I think, is well placed for that. And you can also use their Python 3 bindings, which is also super cool.
Yeah, I think just as a small remark, Gmesh struggles, I think, to generate from surface meshes, from triangle meshes to generate volumetric mesh. It's not as easy as it is with Seagull, I think. So I think that's one of the constant issues of, let's say, entry-level SOFA users, that they want to use their own mesh, and they are frustrated because they can't really mesh it properly in the beginning. So maybe that would be a usability thing to look into. So I'm really interested also in what you mentioned, that you can use Seagull Python 3 interface for this.
If you guys can at the end point share some even basic but scripts showing maybe with a video showing the result and sharing the file so that people can try to reproduce what you're doing, it would be very nice, both with Gmesh and you had a second point. Sorry, Christian.
Yeah, my second point was on shape optimization.
Yeah.
Just maybe more, it's more a challenge for us in the future. If you look at what other engines, physical engine provides, the more we go, the more they are providing automatic differentiation or automatic computation of derivatives. And if you think of it for shape optimization in particular, the ability to be able to transfer also to differentiate the code, so automatic differentiation, it could be very useful. But not only on this, I mean, it has other interesting feature. We could also verify that. So you could imagine also to code only, add force, and then automatically it computes the stiffness matrices, etc., etc. I think it's a challenge for the future. We don't have this feature so far in SOFA, but probably the more we go, the less it will be acceptable. If we want to keep to stay in the run. I mean,
Christian?
Yeah.
We have a PhD student who started this fall on shape optimization for registration. It's the same one. So he's for now using FreeFem rather than SOFA because some of the tools are, I would say, more suitable. And this question of automatic differentiation also came up in that context. He has some already first cool results. I think that in September, when he has made, I would say, enough progress with that software, we want to switch back to SOFA. I think this would be a very cool time to try to have a work group to discuss this, because I mean, Jean-Nicolas, like I said earlier, went through this trouble, and we know different groups who are providing tools for that. I just don't know how we can integrate this into SOFA. But if you guys are also looking at something like this, I think this fall, or I mean, at least yes, sometime after September would be a good time to discuss it. That's for sure.
But maybe Stefan, there are some calls currently going on the so for ADT special additive for artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the large scale, I think you can consider that like optimizing the shape optimization could be seen as can be fall into this. And more generally, I think for artificial intelligence, being able to differentiate is as soon as you can compute easily gradients, you could accelerate the algorithm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually what
this could be also a topic for shared engineer. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think of it this way because to me it's not even clear at the more like research level what would be the good strategy and methodology, because it's something I'm not so familiar with. So
for me there, yeah. We have, in fact, with so it's Damien had a look at it at some point. We even started to implement very basic things in SOFA. So so you have some libraries where you can define the value you want to differentiate, and it's computing a graph in that will compute the differentiation. So I don't know. I don't remember what library Damien picked to test it. But I mean, maybe in the spirit of what Hugo said previously, I think we could start something with existing tools, and maybe start with simple things, but that are already useful. I mean, just to again, that could be the starting point. Could be just verification of the code. I mean,
yeah, right. Yeah.
And if stiffness is not available in the force field, you just you have by default
the differentiation method.
Differentiation given, and yeah.
Okay.
That could be. I mean, and maybe of course there are more. Like if you think of shape optimization, you have to differentiate things that are not easy actually to differentiate. So it could be more research oriented.
No, but having a framework for doing that in SOFA, starting with a simple scenario for which there exists already some library could also be a way. I mean, we have to get started on that, that's for sure. So maybe, yeah, we should. I mean, this is really a hot topic for us. I mean, for now, we're not stopped because there are other tools that allow us to do it, but it has its limits, and at least we could exchange on what are the existing libraries out there that we could integrate with SOFA that sort of do what we want as a starting point. To me, that would be already pretty cool.
You can put it in the list, Hugo.
Yeah,
I think this. So first, this. So it's still development because indeed there is all the part of getting the differentiation into the add force and more add force function. But since it's the very beginning, we can definitely add it in the roadmap. But I'm not sure there will be active people.
No. It's so for me, you maybe you can have to.
Yeah.
So that was my point. I think there is a task.
In the ideas, definitely.
But that's where we have people that we put in the roadmap. Okay,
yeah.
We are sure to have people to make it. And there is like a wish list where we are looking for money. I mean.
Yeah. Okay. Edit here differentiation. And I think we could also rediscuss that in the meeting that we have scheduled. I think it's in 2 weeks between your two teams, so that we can discuss that further, maybe for finding fundings for that and so on. Okay. All right. I saw that. So we have Wilong who joined recently the meeting, who is in direct live from University Florida, maybe confined at home, but from Florida. Maybe we can just end the roundtable for this. So just for your Wilong, to give you an idea, here we are saying, as the slide is actually showing that, what kind of developments are going to be either started or continued up to until November 2020, just to give an idea to everybody what's going on, what will actually happen in plugins and in SOFA, and so that we can then see what are the, I would say, bigger point of convergence between people, so that we can add that to the roadmap and define what will actually be targeted for the next 2012 release of SOFA in December. I had two people. It was Riyad and Remy, that I think both are still here. Not Remy, or am I mistaken? No, Remy is not here. Riyad is still here. I guess Riyad is pretty close to what Stefan has already introduced on the test. You're working also on this project started on FreeFem going to SOFA, and you're looking also at collision, right? Collision methods. Yeah.
Hi. Yeah, sorry, I didn't
unmute yourself
because I wasn't here. But for the collision part, the thing that I have to mention also, so there is a current work with François from Insimo now, and we are working on implementation of new contact algorithms, but it's still in the prototype part. So I think that in the next month we'll have something which will be working, and so but it's still in the research area. So after I guess it will be ready for something usable in the next 2 or 3 months maybe. But just to let you know that we are working on this contact algorithm, which is different from the ghost-idle one, who is implemented right now in the current SOFA. This contact algorithm is based on what we call a direct method. So there is no iterations in order to find the contact point like it's done now by the ghost-idle. And it seems to be following the paper. It seems to be more robust than the ghost-idle. So we are still working on it, and after we'll go to find some scene where the ghost-idle is failing in order to make the difference between the two. But it is still in the stage of the research part. So.
All right. Yeah, that would be great to hear from the project again. Maybe in November next at the SOFA week. It would be. I think it would be the good time, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, because it sounds really promising, and again, that's one of the known feature of SOFA. It's interactivity. So it means when it's colliding, when it's interacting, and so on. So that having more and more efficient methods for constraints resolution would be super interesting. Yeah.
That's all for me.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Riyad. Is Remy back? Not yet. Okay. Rui Long, can I ask you to maybe talk a bit about your simulation activity in Florida, and to mention what you would be interested in SOFA or to implement in SOFA in the coming months, or if you have your mic ready, and if it's not too early. I don't have my mic ready now. Okay, if you can have, if you can find it, it would be very nice. I'm just gonna try to summarize what you already told me, and I already mentioned that a bit earlier. So Rui Long is working with Jörg Peters, and he would so the interest is around modeling plasticity in hexahedron models. So that's something that I don't know if it's if you already started, or if it's going to be in the coming months, but that's something we could also. I'm gonna. I don't know. Yeah, perfect. You already wrote that, Guillaume. But I think it's more like future, ongoing and future project to work on the plasticity and on hexa. If I'm correct. Do not hesitate to correct me in the chat if I said some wrong things. And maybe to end this roundtable, Guillaume, you can say a word about what you think you would focus on for the next months.
I guess it will depend on the roadmap and what we add in it.
Okay. Yeah.
Because obviously I will be invested in that, but for sure I will work. I will continue what I started on CI, and work what was discussed this morning. So I guess that will be a big step for the next months.
All right. And so yeah, as Christian said, Python for me, I had in mind Python 3 configuration, integration. Get into the bindings and help on testing this plugin. So what do you think first about the current roadmap? So the SOFA Qt Quick seems to me that it's something that will continue, right? Since you're working on it. We know. Yeah, you unmuted yourself. Yeah. And can you, Younes, you want to say something, Younes? I see a hand. Which
maybe we have to talk also about Coursera plugin. I still have to finish it, but right now I'm working on the website. But after June, July, I'll work more a bit on that.
Yeah.
To finish the part of, because we still have to add the dynamic part, and after that, I think I can valorize it, and we can put it on the on the SOFA website also.
Cool.
But what is missing now is the documentation. The first is the documentation. I don't have the documentation on that, but the plugin is already ready.
Mm-hmm.
We still need to add the dynamic part, but with the static part, we already have something. We have some demo on that. Then I think you can still use it for small things. But,
yeah, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I completely missed. I missed your comment on the chat. You did well to rise the end and interrupt. Yeah. So for the future, you said add the dynamic part for beam model, for the beam
Coursera model.
Sorry, but it's still beam model, right? Or
so,
I mean,
yeah,
no.
but yeah, the main difference for me is that the computation are made in
the constraint space.
No, in
the strain
local
stress space. Yeah.
Okay. Presentation in a web page. Again, a web page as it has been done previously for such robots would help. I mean, in the diffusion of the plugin, definitely be very nice. All right. Thank you, Younes. All right. Maybe because I just received a video from Ruilong, but I think it's highlighting a bug that he's facing with a.
Hi Hugo, can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly. Yeah.
Hi, this is really I just grabbed my Mac. So currently I'm working on extending the elastoplasticity from the tetrahedral finite element to hexahedral finite element. And right now, I think I have a working version of the simple implementation on the hexahedral, but I just found a bug in the topology change. So I even tested that. So I send you a link with the video that I just tested.
Yeah.
I tested by. So I have a tetrahedral element mesh on the left and a hexahedral mesh on the right, and when I stretch the plasticity and the elasticity looks okay, but when I start cutting using I just use the mouse right click to cut the element. When it's removing element, I keep track of the topology change, the topology change event, and I found the indices of the topology changes looking very weird. Sometimes it reports the index of the elements that are in the initial mesh, but sometimes it's giving me the index of the elements that are not the initial state, but in a like deformed state, in a changed state. So right now I cannot keep track of what exactly element has been cut from the topology change. So in the video you can see that when I was cutting element, the plasticity of the other elements are changing.
Yeah, I can.
I don't know if you have a idea that how I can correctly interpret the topology change event.
Not like that, and I'm no big experts of the topological change, and it's maybe not the right moment. But that we can maybe discuss that tomorrow during the the coding sprint if you'd like. And this would maybe need the expertise of Eric for that. Okay. So that's
hi Eric.
Sorry,
you can't hide here.
and so for the to end the roundtable, so what you're aiming at in the coming months, Relong, is to get a 3D model, hexagonal model of elastoplastic model that you would be able to cut. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I guess yeah. First, there is the improvement of the extension of the existing elastic model of SOFA, and second would be also to work on the dynamic topologies in 3D, which is something which is not widely used at all in the SOFA community. So that's something that is interesting as well. Yeah, cool. And notes are already there. Okay, cool. Thank you. So yeah, before going to first, it's already 3:30, and as we said earlier this morning, we won't make it until 6 in the evening. But we'd like now to define really what would be the priorities, what we should focus on, what we do from previous tasks, what and for each task that we decide that it has to be on the roadmap, what would be the subtasks to achieve by November for these topics, and yeah, and to get sufficient details on each task to get really a good tracking of what we are doing in the coming months. So Christian, if I take again your words, you would be more for just first completing ongoing work. Is that correct?
Just no, but I think we should put in the roadmap what we so it's task where we are sure to be able to assign people.
And what would be the task that you see that we are sure to assign people?
I can't know, but maybe I don't know if we have listed. I mean, I don't know if you took some notes.
Yeah.
But I think people have mentioned many things. I think we can
maybe Hugo, you can show the slide with the empty list, and we fill it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
we could also, thanks to Zoom, we can also write it on it, right?
Yeah, you won't be able to edit this one.
So can you see? I know you can't see my screen, right?
We can see. Yes.
You could see your screen.
Ah, you could. Okay, sorry.
No, you have to switch to the right tab. Yes, nice.
But,
so that's the MTA roadmap. There was earlier. I can list a bit what very shortly all the notes, taking the keywords of what everyone said. So there was Abdelrahman, but he was interested in soft robots, which is also already existing, Ross and so on. Jeremy that said that it was very nice to see things evolving, even if not always agreeing, but it's not nothing directly involved. So first one who said something, it was Eric saying homogenization of API in SOFA. First, I mean, starting, it's very, very broad and very, very wide, I think, as a topic. But starting from the force fields, for instance, and getting something quite homogeneous from a force field to another. And the second topic was topological change. That was the two topics that Eric rose. Then
no, it was not exactly that.
Please go ahead.
No, it was more unifying the API of topology.
Only on the topology side? Okay, sorry.
No, I mean, there was on FEM, mask, and everything, and also regarding the topology to unify the API, but this is more inside the code. It won't be really visible from outside.
But you mean the API for topology change? That's what you mean?
No, for topology.
For topology,
because on topology, right now in topology we have different kind of containers, components, and so someone who arrives in SOFA it's very complicated to understand what is doing what.
Okay, so
and in fact, listening to Bruno, I think one of my tasks I want to be involved also is a data update.
Data update?
Yeah, for the same reason as
okay. So topo and physics. All right. Then Jean-Nicolas, you mentioned that you had a PhD to defend, that so working on hyperelastic force field, so on your plugin, documentation on this, polishing it. So that's, I think, not something that goes directly into the roadmap, if I'm correct, Jean-Nico?
Yeah, maybe not in this roadmap. Maybe for the next one.
But for this one, so for the, and when I say this one it's all, you can all think about November, so it's not precisely tomorrow, even if time passes by.
I mean, you can put this. It's really like how to get an hyperelastic models that will work on any kind of elements or materials. So this is one thing, and the other thing will join the visitor-less SOFA. So, but for this one, you can put the hyperelasticity.
You mean for the roadmap? You mean, or
yeah, okay. For the roadmap, yeah, you can put it.
Can I guess see what I'm writing, right? Just like for Emmanuel Macron when he's typing hyperelasticity. You mean it's more? Yeah, okay.
A little bit like you know, the hyperelastic tetrahedron force field you have in SOFA. You can swap for one material to another one. It's basically the same things, but also independent of the element type. So we can have linear hexa, quadratic hexa, tetra, and things like that. And
okay, it's more, yeah, it's more it's a mechanical FEM with independent from the model and the topology, right?
Yeah, and
you rose in the previous days. We talked together, and you mentioned, you know, the idea of creating an ODE solver independent from visitors, linear solver, and integration scheme. Basically, something a bit visitorless, because I think. I mean, yeah, in this idea of you know, going step by step, just this first objective would be challenging, but
yeah, but I mean we can talk about it. It's I've did some very quick tests. One of the main drawback of removing visitorless are the visitors that will compute some operation on vectors that reside inside mechanical object. So right now, instead of having one big vector, you have multiple smaller vectors that reside inside mechanical object. So the vector operator or mechanical operations, they are doing this. They are launching visitors inside the graph and doing operations to those sub-vectors everywhere. And this is something we should check, because doing this, of course, it allows you to not build a whole matrix or a whole vector. But yeah, we should check the performance impact of constructing those big matrix against launching those visitors and see what's come up. Because if we don't see a big impact, then we could think about solvers without visitors. Without this, it will be hard to do. If we, I mean, this add the force, which is basically doing a multiplication between a matrix and a vector with visitors. If we want to do something visitors less, we need a way to handle those kind of methods that works really well with visitors.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something we could talk about maybe later.
Yeah, maybe on this topic we can in the coming days, so maybe tomorrow. I think we started a little bit with Frédéric last time on the last STC.
Yeah, I remember.
And for me, maybe the thing we should do is not necessary to. What would be great actually in the roadmap is at least to have the list of modifications, and you know, maybe not necessarily having done the code or having done even like a test, or I don't know, but really to have a build the specifications that would be necessary to do this visitorless.
Yeah, you mean to list basically what would be needed to get implemented or to get removed, basically all the tasks.
Just to agree, but so because we are all against somehow the visitor. So the way we are all against, we all agree on how it's the fact that it's not necessarily the way we should implement that. Okay, but I think it would be easier if we at least agree on a document on the specification of what we want. I mean, defining the specifications.
That's actually that's a good point, and that's what would be needed for actually each task. And it's really to agree on what is really needed to complete this task, and the same for visitorless. All right, and in the same idea, Jean-Nicolas, you said that yeah, you already looked and investigated a bit on the performances between build and non-build system.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, this is
this is always tricky. It's another topic, but it really depends on what kind of simulation you are aiming for. If you are aiming to do a lot of CG iterations, then building the matrix won't be very costly against doing a lot of iterations. So yeah, this is something we can talk about.
Yeah, and particularly, I think that's why I think it's important to write clearly the specification, because for instance, for myself, so now I think in 99% of the case in Defrost, we are not using anymore any CG alone. Okay.
And you mean you are using a preconditioner, or?
So we are always now creating, so either or preconditioner or direct solver, but we are always constructing the system. Okay.
Yeah.
So at the end, so I would be completely okay if we decide, for instance, and I would push in this direction to remove basically the unbuilt system, because I think it's just a problem of it creates.
Yeah, I mean I'm.
So, but the thing is that but I would do it if everyone agrees. I think that's why I think it's the first step is the specification to define, for instance, do we remove or not this unbuilt system? If we finally agree, all of us, that it's not useful, then we can remove it. If we want to keep it, I would.
It's a big question, because keeping it means our visitorless, or I mean the way we will design our perfect sofa will be much more complicated just because of this guy, and I can only see one scenario where not constructing the matrix is better. It's when you want to do like 10 CG iteration without any preconditioner. You just want the CG to run very approximately, and this is the only case I can see where building the matrix would be too costly. If you are using a preconditioner, if you want to use external tools to solve your problem, or if you want I don't know, then of course you need to build the matrix, and this add key to this add deforce is useless, totally useless. Yeah. And this one, if we want to keep it, then.
But I think, Jean-Nicolas, so I am 100%. I do completely agree with what you say. Okay, but the thing is that we need to do it. I think progressively.
Yeah.
And let also people that have used, I mean, that are using this to also maybe give us some feedback on cases where it could be useful.
Yeah, this is why I say we should wait before just
no, but the thing is that we should not wait for writing. So if we agree on this specification, for instance, what we can say, we can have a meeting and tomorrow or after tomorrow, like writing this list of specification, the things that will be removed from SOFA and that the things we keep. Okay, we publish that clearly, and I think we gave 6 months to people to react on the specifications we have defined.
This is a great idea, and I think a must. And maybe we should also define some benchmarks just to show that, just to really highlight it, which scenario will this be a problem, and so that people are aware that if they are using this kind of scenario, then maybe they will have a small impact on performance.
Actually, I wanted to comment on that, because you said that, for instance, if you use a CG with a few number of iterations, it could be a scenario. But to me, the fact you have a CG does not mean you cannot build the matrix.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that building this matrix will cost maybe, I don't know, 10 milliseconds. And if you are doing 20 CG iteration that cost 1 millisecond, then building the matrix would be a large part of the time of your timing. But it's basically the only,
That's where I was gonna go. I mean, maybe a way also to convince people that, and even us, that this is an okay thing to let go, is by comparing the time that you need for CG with where you build the matrix and where you don't build the matrix on different scenario, like a small object, a big object, and different number of iterations. And if the only case you really gain is on a small deformable object with very few number of iterations, then I think that's
Stefan, I think one of the cases where I don't know on the GPU implementation if there was some case or where it was useful not to construct.
I mean, even on the GPU, from what I've...
But I think it has evolved.
Yeah, it has evolved. It's mainly because what I've seen right now is the optimizations from like again or special libraries to do sparse matrix to dense vector. It's just incredible. They are doing this so fast that the cost of building the matrix is not that much a problem, because the multiplication after that with the dense vector is done extremely fast. And I'm pretty sure even on GPU they have sparse to dense multiplication somewhere. So yeah, but of course this is also a scenario we should check. Does really having a matrixless operator on GPU is something necessary or something useful? I don't know.
But I think that what Christian was saying is, at least was certainly true a few years ago, because since the computation of the operations you do when you use the unbuilt CG are very, very fast on the GPU compared to memory access. I think I would say,
because the CG is basically doing this. Yeah, sorry.
But this was again like years ago, where we were experimenting on this. Again, I think even for us, it would be a good decision point to test what is the ratio of computational efficiency between built and built CG, and yes, maybe on the GPU as well, not just the CPU.
I think as Christian suggested, I think this part, which can I think be we mentioned tasks for the roadmap and ideas to get funded or to pursue and so on. But this can definitely be further discussed, for instance, tomorrow or day after tomorrow, because I'm not sure that it's something that we would like to make appear already right now. Just, I mean, why not? If it's that important and that key, we can really focus on this. But
we should start right now. Maybe not aiming to finish for November, but at least preparing the.
That's. I would agree with that. I think we should at least. I think one piece of work that I would push for is this kind of benchmark. Because at least if next time we come with this benchmark, which I think is not time consuming, then this gives a very clear basis for making a decision, and that we can keep the decision next time. But benchmarking would really help. Otherwise, we'll be making assumptions based on results that go back years ago, and we should make those new benchmarks using Eigen, and I mean, there are people who are still active on the GPU, so they're so good.
All right. Can I say?
Yeah, Olivier.
Okay. No, just a small remark in favor of CG. It's just for people who start with SOFA and don't know so well how to make a scene. Often when you CG is more, it helps you that the scene does not crash. Like if you make a mistake in your scene, you may still get a result. When you solve with a direct solver, it's more if it's incorrect, it will crash or it will do nothing.
But CG will stay here. I mean, CG should always be there, even without preconditioning. You can do a CG like we do now with building.
Okay, I think I misunderstood. You don't want to remove the CG solver.
It's just that the CG at each iteration will do a matrix to vector operation, multiplication. It will do this one time. So it's this operation which can be done without building the matrix.
Okay, sorry.
Only this one, yeah.
But I think, Olivier, what you mentioned is also the fact that in the implementation of the TG today, it's well suited for the visitor. So if you place, for instance, force field under mapping, it can handle it. Whereas the other solver, linear solver, cannot easily handle it. So I think, but we have a solution now for that, thanks to Olivier actually, and we need to generalize that. So we need also to make it work also in case where it should work. I mean, with
you mean when the mapping is contributing to the matrix system of the parent one? Yeah. Well, we
have a solution. We have developed solution for that. So it's not that now it's impossible to do. So, but it's true that with the CG it's automatic, so you don't have any questions.
Yeah, so because of course it's okay. I see your point.
And we added also on the right hand side column the other topics on top of this deep and broad system resolution topic. So the modularization which is started by Fred, the plugin model order reduction. There is not noted, but there is also the work on constraints and contacts, but it's really starting. So that's why I think it's too early to I would say highlight it on the roadmap, the work from Riyadh. SOFA Qt Quick, which is from the previous, from 2006 release. SOFA Python 3, same. Cosra plugin that Younes mentioned, and all the work aiming at providing compiling plugins outside from SOFA, the custom binaries. All this link with this continuous integration, and that's a topic which is, I think, concerning everybody basically. So that's that's all the topics that have been discussed earlier this morning and this afternoon. The idea we can get in too deep into each of those topics, because almost each of them can be discussed for a bit a long time. But the purpose is to, I would say, define. We said two or three, but the purpose is that we announce things that we are sure that will evolve. So it means if we start having this task on the roadmap, just let's try to make it work and avoid. So why 2, 3? Just because already for this release, for the 26th release, we had only 3, and even those only 3 tasks were not successfully all covered. So it's not a bad thing that it's not completely covered and that it carries on a bit, but I think not to really get to the priority, and that's I think what Christian said a bit earlier, to really focus on some priority aspects in SOFA.
And that doesn't mean that the other ones are forgotten, because we can still have like Christian said, the wish list, and we can publish it also. Mm-hmm. But for the time that we have left, we have to focus on 2, 3 to really go deeper, and make sure that these ones are the ones that will surely move forward.
So, and it can definitely be system resolution if if Christian, Stéphane, Jean-Nicolas, and others are active on the topic until November. That's something that can work. But it's just what I just want to say for this specific topic. For instance, it can be a bit dangerous if only Jean-Nicolas, for instance, is active as a developer on the topic.
So just I will talk maybe more for Defrost.
Yeah.
I would say, so I think for me the idea is to look at where people are already assigned. Okay. So SOFA Qt Quick, there is Bruno, so there will be some advance make on this direction for sure. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. SOFA Python 3, it's critical for us also. I really want all the group to move to, and including me, to move to SOFA Python 3. And to be honest, given the difficulty that Bruno had on his Mac, so I'm still on Python 2, and but really I want all the group to move to SOFA Python 3. And for the last thing, which is really for me, what is really helpful from you guys is the CE and the custom binaries. We already worked on that, and I really think it's really helpful for collaborations, particularly for collaboration, for making people use our codes without spending a lot of time explaining them how to install, etc. So I would say for me the 3 main topics already where we know that there are already people working on that would be this. After that, for visitorless and system resolution, in my mind, again, it's more to try to work on a document that would describe what we want to do, rather than really start the work. And try to find in the meantime also people that could find engineers and support to have the manpower to make it work. Okay. But in the meantime, we can work on more like a document that would describe what we want to do.
Yeah. Okay. Same. I mean, yes, Stéphane, if you want to say your priorities, and then others, we can build up groups. If there is sufficient number of people, and when I say sufficient, it's people that are really 100% sure they're going to work on this topic in the coming months. It's okay to it's okay to let us know that you have really something that you wanna target and make change. So Stéphane, do you have like Christian some immediate needs of some changes?
I think Python 3 for us, that's for sure. I can tell you, Christian, it's possible on Mac. I've done it. So go ahead. No fear. But there are still some bugs and some things that are maybe not documented. But I think for us, this is also something that more and more people are using. And because it bridges with PyTorch and other things that we could not do with the previous Python, I think this is also, yeah, so it's a good reason to move forward with that. And what I think we really need with Python 3 is, I don't know how I could call it, but some sort of a CI as well, because we're at a point where we are no longer just writing a simple scene file with Python 3. We are writing modules and packages, meaning you have entire directories with many Python scripts, which are depending on each other, so you can load them as modules and stuff like that. That is basically replacing big chunks of code. I mean, many classes and components, but it gets also more complicated to manage and make sure that if you use the same piece of code on someone else's machine, it will work the same way. And that's actually exactly what we are fighting with right now. So I think that besides Python 3, SOFA Python 3 itself and the possible remaining bugs and the documentation, I think we need to have some sort of CI, I don't know how to call it, but something to make sure that if you give a module written in Python to someone, Python plus SOFA, it can install and run smoothly. And
we can do CI on Python. There is the equivalent.
Yeah.
We could look at this, but normally we can also do a unit test and everything in Python.
So I think to me this is something that would be very nice, and basically it becomes a very nice way also of exchanging code at some point, because again, then you can write a package and people can install it, and it becomes as pretty much a plugin. So this is for me what I really would like to keep pushing, because we need it, and we need it at this level of development. The rest, yeah, there are many other things, but for the short term, this would be this one.
I don't understand really well what is the issue when exchanging Python modules or Python code. What is the problem?
It could be that we don't know yet how to write properly very advanced Python packages and modules, because it's not so easy to do. Another issue, which is like just an example of this, is if your Python script is referencing some library which is in another plugin, there is the question of how you reference it in a way that is going to work on every machine, assuming that people have installed their plugins wherever they want. For that, for instance, I did not find a solution yet.
But this is not a Python-related problem, right?
But it's Python and SOFA. I mean, yes.
Yeah, it's more a CMake issue than a Python one.
It's also runtime. Yeah,
Okay.
Even more with the bindings you have now. So you will have your SOFA plugin, and you will also have the Python 3 bindings for your plugins, which needs to be found by Python, and your plugins needs to be found by SOFA. So you got a bunch of dependencies either for the compilations and after that for the runtime. So it's it's not trivial at all. It can be really frustrating when you want to make something that someone else done work on your PC. It's it's super difficult.
It is difficult. Also, the debugging tools are not the same as what we have in C++. So sometimes you execute your Python script and you get some very random error message. And then it's a long quest before you actually find the source of the bug. And so all those things I think are time consuming, but they will be, I think, needed as people use more and more SOFA and Python 3.
Okay. I added the line how to write good modules just for myself, but yeah, it definitely is related somehow to the plugins and the CI task. We just have to find the right naming for everything, but yeah, it's linked.
All right. If I'm correct, so then there is Bruno, Eric, Jean-Nico, Fred for the task that you will focus on and that that will progress and so on. So that's Bruno. You are obviously on SofaCute Quick, and that's also a question of, do you know that you will spend time on something else like a data update, or you won't, because just regarding previous months you think that you should focus on just SofaCute Quick. Same for Eric, Jean-Nico, and Fred.
Was there a question, Hugo?
You killed everyone.
The question is basically, is there one of those topics that you will be basically you will be active on it, and you will make some changes. You need some changes on those topics, so that is there any additional topics to the one that has been here listed and made in bold on the slide?
Well, so of course, as you said, SofaCute Quick for me. Actually, the discussions around finding dependencies in Sofa Python 3 and all this are topics that also somewhat interest me, because in SofaCute Quick we have this project-based approach, and we want to be able to easily load up dependencies, save configuration files at different levels of the program. You might want configuration files that are related to your projects, some that are more application-wise. So there are questions of where to put these files for SofaCute Quick, and I think having a standardized way to do these kind of things would be useful. And so also for finding scripts from a plugin, these kind of things, I think at some point the topics will cross. So I'm pretty sure it will coincide. And as for the custom binaries and CI, I think this is those are topics. Well, custom binaries maybe less, but CI I think is a topic that requires almost a full-time work, which is also why ours was kind of left to rot. So I don't think I will find time to work on this, but I encourage you to to pursue it.
No, that's really important to know. And that's no problem to say I'm going to focus only on SofaCute Quick, even if I'm curious about that. But it really helps in the definition, because otherwise, if we say, okay, then the plugin out of Sofa, custom binaries, and CI are a priority in Sofa, so that, and finally, Guillaume is the only one, for instance, working on it, despite we were expecting that, for instance, just an example, you, Bruno, you were going to be involved in the CI for Python or what, and finally not. The roadmap won't progress as expected, and it will be a bit frustrating for everyone. That's just the point of knowing who is going to be involved where on which topic, really concretely active on the development. Thank you, Bruno. Eric? is there a point which is not here and you need it and you will work on that 100% sure, I mean, 90% sure or whatever?
90% sure, no. No, I don't see. I don't know.
I mean, and again, it's all the you know the balance to find between I will work on that, and if it's not progressing as expected, it's okay. But at least there have been some involvement. My personal frustration on those last months is really the data update, because I would have wished to have already some time to spend on that, but without poking myself and poke of other people telling me, hey, what's up with that? Should we make another meeting to discuss? And yeah, so it's just, as you said, a bit left to rot, and that's a pity. So it's just to avoid doing that again that we are asking. So Jean-Nico, you mentioned, so you are already on SOFA Python 3 and plus the thesis plus everything else. So I don't think we would add many different things apart maybe from taking part of the discussions that could occur on the system resolution that we mentioned before, right? And visitorless.
Yeah, I mean, this is something I will definitely want to hear and to participate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, those are those kind of. I mean, until September it will be hard for me, but after that, yeah, these are probably my main interest.
Okay.
Those topics.
And yeah, maybe we would make pop up, your FEM plugin on independent of model and topologies appear on the roadmap on the way if it's released up to a point, whatever. And obviously we would discuss that at the SOFA week. Okay, and Fred, that we did not hear for some time.
Well, it's pretty clear that I will do the modularization. Mm-hmm. And after that, I guess I will do by my own the visual stuff. I guess alone, so it's not really a task, but it's a task.
Yeah, when you say the visual stuff, are you talking? Are you thinking about the OpenGL layer?
Mm-hmm. The visual stuff, the draw tools and rendering.
Okay.
Do you think we can get rid of glue?
By what I've found, I guess it's like really a layer of layers, so it should be. I don't know. It depends. It depends the dependencies of what I found. We'll see.
Right.
But now I guess the glue you need it for Linux, no?
I mean, I don't know, because now I'm trying some small things with Qt, and it's always telling me that no, you included glue before.
Yeah, but that's
and then you swap the order, and it's still not working. Yeah,
it's a problem with glue. But yeah. I will tell you what I found. I will try to do some tests, and I will see if it's possible to do it in so far. But otherwise, I will continue on the Qt 3D. But I think it will be not that used anymore by Qt in the next version of Qt. In Qt 6, they are speaking about Qt Quick 3D and other things like that. But Qt 3D, they don't speak it anymore. So we'll see.
Okay. All right. I don't know if anyone has anything else to, Thierry, would any of those topics be of interest for you, where you could help a bit, or also just because it's an open source community, you can also do that for personal interest. It's also a tool for work, but not only.
The first part is yes. The second question is for now, no. I mean,
and yeah.
I mean, that's what I said earlier. I mean,
yeah,
just can't promise because when I'm working on that, I'm not working on something else.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, and we should, I think, plan again some discussions together. So also with Maud, to clarify all that later on. So what appears are basically those three aspects. There is also the modularization from Fred, on which Fred is going to work on.
Actually, modularization can be included in the packaging big project because it's the same idea.
Yeah. And so maybe we can we said up to 5 today. What would be really nice is to complete a list of tasks, and as you said, for actually visitorless or system resolution, so that we could discuss tomorrow. And today what would be very nice is to on those three aspects then to list really what are the expected tasks to be fulfilled up to the next release. So for SOFA Qt Quick, I think it would be something very very specific, but on which we can actually all guide or help, or also tell maybe help also in the definition of these tasks. Bruno, SOFA Python 3, there is already the remaining tasks to be done, but you all mentioned then the packaging related aspects for SOFA Python 3. And then all the
Hugo, on SOFA Qt Quick, so there is maybe the internal roadmap of what we wanted to do for the project, but there is, for me, as it's a SOFA meeting, so I think it has to be concerned. I think for what I was expecting from the community is maybe to have the first users with a positive view, that, I mean, people that it would be great to have some people, maybe people from the consortium, that would allocate some times, not necessarily a long time, but to test, even if it's not working perfectly, but just to give us some feedback, because we have been thinking of this with our needs in mind. But that would be interesting to see if the workflow that we have imagined is also shared. I mean, and if you have some comments, so the idea is really would be to gather a list of first users outside Defrost.
Yeah, you mean for SOFA Qt Quick, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So here we can build maybe a page dedicated for each of the.
You can join the notes on the link I just added on the title of the slide.
Here, okay.
Actually, it should work. I didn't even check.
Okay.
Maybe not.
So Qt Quick, you said sharing. I mean, getting. Testing and providing feedback would be a first step. Bruno, do you already know? I mean, is there really identified tasks, because it's for a limited amount of time for the SOFA Qt Quick project that you really want to fulfill until October?
Oh, it's a good question. Actually, I don't have here the. I didn't think of pulling out the list of stuff that we want to have done by the end of the ADT. But basically, we know what we're not going to work on. What we're going to leave for a next contract, let's say.
Yeah. Okay.
I think what will be worked on for sure is figuring out the quirks and the stability issues. That's number one priority. Making a documentation, so that will go through
making video tutorials also. We want to have a good base of video tutorials so that people can really easily take the software into their own hands and try it and figure out the features easily without having to look by themselves too much. And yeah, I think those are the main aspects. Anyway, but I think in terms of, I don't know if that's what you want to see on this roadmap, but if it's also like a call for action, let's say, I think there are plenty of very useful and relatively simple things that could be done by the community to help improve the software, and that would be mainly simply trying to install and compile it, see how it goes, write down every problem that they see, and write issues on GitHub. That would be extremely useful. Even though we usually know already the issues, but
yeah.
I think we're in a stage where even though the product is the software is not really usable as is, we can start having people testing it, and so yeah.
I wanted to ask, it's not to ask, to add that maybe meshing can be addressed. So I just looked it up, and the Seagull Python 3 interface, I could install it on my system. I have yet to test it, but maybe that would be an interesting package or a plugin, so to say, so that can be tested in, so that would feature both SofaQt Quick and SofaPython 3.
And yeah, I think, just to, it fits exactly what Christian was saying before, bringing new functionalities that are actually not in Sofa, not in Run Sofa, and bringing them there will also make that definitely more attractive for people to test it. So seeing that kind of features on top of what already exists, it's super cool. So if you know and you really want to spend some time on that, Stefan, we can definitely add that on the roadmap.
So yeah, I think it would be interesting for me to do this. Let's say meshing, basically meshing from triangle mesh and meshing from parametric meshes.
Okay.
And I think I will talk to Bruno more in detail about this, so we can coordinate it.
Yeah. All right, and as Christian proposed, I added it here. That's definitely something I'd be ready to test, to provide feedback, even to contribute, because I'm on Linux, so I should have less problems than other OS. But yeah, that's I can definitely try that. Okay, I just take a look at what we wrote in the slides, the previous slides, because there were some missing points. It was gathering people already, and it was runtime stability already as well, and go from alpha to beta. Okay, no, it's okay. And again, it would be very nice if you can, find again, Bruno, the document of the additive, so that you can, complete it if there is some features that need to be implemented. You'll work on that. Do not hesitate. I think there is no need to. I don't know. But is there a need to bring it under the GitHub, the Sofa GitHub repository? Right now, just for highlighting, it's not for anything else, but to motivate people. I don't think so, but you can let us know.
I think one very important thing to do is to simplify the install requirements, because we have like one specific version of Sofa currently. We have one specific branch. Even in SofaQt Quick, we are not on the master branch, so it's kind of ridiculous. So, but this is ongoing work already. It should be done by the end of the week.
Okay.
So Aside from that, I think as long as people can easily find it and compile it, I don't really see a reason to right now move it to the SOFA framework repository.
Okay. Creating issues is already possible. Pull request. Okay. Anyone think about anything else? So I'm just gonna add it. Is there any missing point from the objective? Just to recall. Okay. So I can remove that. You see what we are doing in the doc, right?
Yeah, I shared the doc.
You're on screen. Okay.
Yes.
Moving to SOFA Python 3. So if we take the previous steps, it was finalize integration. So it was basically clean all the CMake configuration. That was one thing.
Yeah.
Apply clean CMake configuration. There was the add SOFA, add it in SOFA as an external plugin. Adapt all the scene example and which are already in SOFA. There will be all the dependencies, because in the dependencies there is something. For instance, you have a compliant and flexible, which are basing some of their tests based on SOFA Python 2 plugin. So these might be deprecated as soon as SOFA Python 2 will be deprecated. I was expecting Gaëtan from some guys from Nice who are currently working with a flexible plugin. So yeah, that's something that we cannot discuss. So what would be the next steps then on top of the one we listed in the slides previously? I'm just gonna add them here. SOFA macro.
I mean, speaking of plugins that will be difficult to adapt, maybe we should follow this path and determine which plugins we can. I mean, it's really which one we can continue to support and which one we cannot, because we simply don't have the resources to do it. Like flexible is a big one. I'm sure it's super useful, but if nobody can understand it, and it would be difficult to move forward.
Yeah, that was also my point when we discussed about building plugins out of SOFA on the CI to improve a lot the CI. I said that we should first clean the plugins that are in SOFA, because we have to ask ourselves what plugins are still supported and which ones are deprecated.
Yeah. I actually prepared a slide in the presentation that was a bit after all that, after the roadmap, due to your point, Jean-Nicolas. I wanted to mention that. I think tomorrow we could definitely make a discussion about that, prepare some discussion about that, so that we really list and just agree once and for all, and make it clear and official, and see if there is any contra I would say opinions or whatever on those
arguments.
Arguments on those plugins, and if not, moving on, because as you said, the time we are spending, and we have a lot of tests failing sometimes on those plugins, maintenance. As soon as there is a deep change like Fred is currently doing, it's always nasty in those parts. So it does interesting things. We can always let that as SOFA Python 2. It will always be there and so on. But we could, for instance, start extracting those plugins and deprecating them after the v20.06 as well, and just decide that those one won't be supported anymore. if anyone is like the very courageous guy who decided to restart the work on OpenCL, but why not? If people are up to, but yeah, we can't afford for spending too much time on the support of too many plugins. So I agree, but I agree, but I don't know what you think about discussing about that tomorrow, so that we can really list.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree too.
So I just added here in the doc, the list of that needs to be done or that was targeted for the v06. But I think you are thinking about additional things, right? For SOFA Python. First one, I'm separating them a bit just to recall. So that was for the v06. And here it would be, for instance, the first thing that I heard was testing, test coverage, right? To start making some tests from Python itself. Is that correct?
Who are you talking?
To any Python guy, you, Stefan. I don't know if Stefan is still here.
He's not there. But yeah, it was test coverage of more, I think, of Python scenes, because I know he's working with huge amounts of Python scripts that works together. So I think in his case, he was talking more about testing those scripts, making sure they work everywhere and things like that.
Yeah. After and up to a point, we don't have neither to stretch some developments, because sometimes I'm wondering if too long Python files are just not by definition a bit shitty, and by definition won't be very stable and very easy to share. And maybe there is I don't know if there would be other ways to implement exactly the same simulation instead of huge files. So that's something I have no ideas. But,
yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have to check this.
But yeah, if he's leaving when talking about that, it might be a bit complicated. Test coverage of the SOFA Python plugin. Is there anything else that you would see? Because otherwise, basically, it will be the work that we planned last time, just to get it done for the next release.
I think one of the main things for SOFA Python 3, I mean, you got one part is using bindings from the current SOFA components in Python 3, and this has already been done to a lot of components. But there's another big thing is how to bind your own plugins, and this one is not that trivial. So you need to link SOFA Python 3 to your project, and then you need to really, I mean, you need to know how to bind your function and your component. And this one, either is it is from a documentation point of view or from a CMake point of view, things like that. I think there are a lot of things we can improve and maybe make it more easier for people to bind their plugins. Because I can see the amount of question we'll have on the forum on this, and it's something super useful.
Yeah. Is that correct? What I just put here, documentation on in which case and how, if it needs it to create your own bindings in a plugin.
Yeah, that's good. There are probably also some cleanings to do on the plugin itself, because SOFA Python 3 is two things right now. It is bindings and it
plugin,
is it is also a plugin, and the lines between those two right now, the current state, it's not super clear. There are a lot of dependencies. So if you want to bind simple components, you kind of have to draw all of SOFA inside your code, because it is also using the plugin. So there are probably some cleanings we can do on this part.
Yeah, that's I include this part, which is, I think, longer than we can maybe imagine, and not only making using SOFA macro, but reconfiguring a bit all the CMake aspects so that maybe, as you just said, for instance, make a clear separation or definition, I don't know, separation between the plugin part and the binding part. But yeah, for exactly. Me, it falls into this part, into this first point. Okay, I don't know if you have anything else to add really in the task that you would see. Obviously, there will be a lot of fixing, cleaning, and so on. But I mean, it's too vague and it's too some kind of everyday work that we can add it, but going into details is not really possible on this point. So if there is anything else, do not hesitate to add it. But basically, if we let that as is, it means that with all those tasks completed, the SOFA Python 3 is somehow the perfect SOFA Python plugin, or what we would expect it to be at the end of the year. So, if no additional remark, that's basically it. And the last part is I'm sorry. I wanted you mentioned about that I bugged. You mentioned about a coffee. Either we do the last task and we can end here, or we take a coffee and we do the last one. What do you prefer? The last task is the one on the top here. Can you see it? Yeah, here. The packaging, SOFA, and plugins on the different aspects. The continuous integration, all the what you say, how to write good modules and modularization aspects. What do you think, guys?
I think we should finish in 20 minutes, and
yeah, okay.
Because
I agree. Okay, and then we'll all swim into the swimming pool of coffee. So for this last part, so there is different parts here. The continuous integration and it's continuous development, right?
Yeah.
So the idea would be to build plugins out of SOFA, be able to generate custom binaries on demand. Basically, here in those tasks, Guillaume, for instance, where are you and where do you expect people to assist and to contribute?
Yeah, that's the good question to ask, because it would be great to have some help here, but I'm not sure it's possible. So mainly I'm here, and a bit also here and here because I have the expertise on these subjects, but these two are also the ones that can be done by anyone.
Sure.
Yeah, here is Fred mainly since 2 weeks, but now it's your baby. And for the good module, there is a lot of still a lot of discussions to do, because we have to understand well what the problem is more technically to provide a solution. Maybe the solution is only documentation. Maybe the solution is a skeleton of CMake code. I don't know. So the first point here would be to specify what is the issue, what is the need technically.
And on the when you say good modules, it's SOFA Python 3, but not you mean
it's what Stefan said before. So how to correctly write your SOFA Python 3 dependent module, but it's not only for SOFA Python 3, but as Stefan and Jean-Nico said, SOFA Python 3 seems to bring more complications than usual. So how to write a good module to be able then to share it with someone.
Okay.
So if it's not with Python, it's a first step. I don't even know if it's easy for anyone right now to share some module, some plugin.
I think
I hope it is. Jean-Nico?
Yeah, I think I was just thinking there are kind of two parts to this. There's the building part and there's the runtime part. Those are
Yes, you said it before.
Two different parts, and they are both difficult to do right now. So yeah.
So this is for the Python related stuff.
But also for plugins in general, especially if you compile them out of tree, how to make SOFA, look for them in a simple way, like just putting them in a standard path, like a lot of software are doing. It could be solutions, but yeah, for both for Python and for plugin in general.
Okay. So this can be discussed tomorrow, for example, to get more into details for all this stuff. On the modularization side, I don't know if Fred, you have a plan in your head, or if it's more on the fly. Let's modularize this one. Let's modularize this one.
So that was what Hugo asked me. My initial plan, because it's changing every time I'm doing something, but it was to start with the SOFA advanced stuff, the collection or whatever, empty it, and after that to do the SOFA MISC, empty it, and general.
Okay. It was already written somewhere. I didn't see.
No, just Hugo asked me.
But Hugo
just two seconds before. Yeah. No. But the thing is, sometimes there is a weird dependencies, so sometimes I guess I will have to do some general before or something.
Okay.
The plan was like that. But actually, I did a PR. It's advanced is removed already.
But does it? Would it be a good idea to already discuss about the modules that we won't pluginize as is? Is the plan to pluginize as is every module, or do you plan to move stuff before pluginization?
But the thing is, before moving, you have to know the dependencies.
Yeah.
And to know the dependencies, you have to check the code so you can do. For me, my plan was simple. Plain and simple. It was just to modelize everything, and once you can check more thoroughly the dependencies.
Okay.
It's not that, I mean, I'm sure that you could factorize much better than this method, but if I don't.
Yeah, but I agree with you, because the modularization, just modularizing, is not invasive and not breaking.
Hey, well, if I keep because for the advanced, I told you that now everything in the advanced was modularized, but there is still a compatibility layer for SOFA advanced, so you can still do a fine package of advanced and link with it. But so it means that for like external people who are using a plugin using SOFA advanced, will still work. So, but if we start to already move stuff, I mean, we will break everything at once. So I guess fun first will be to modularize everything and keep the compatibility layer, and after that to do the SOFA MG things. I guess.
Yeah, I think for November, the first point is already nice.
That's for sure. The thing is not that difficult. Just only problem is dependencies, weird dependencies sometimes.
Okay, so yeah, just to recap, for the next how much months do we have? 6 months, 7 months. Because I put it a lot of stuff here. And,
yeah, that's exactly the point I wanted to go for. It's maybe more or less the last
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. I saw you did a bit of
yeah.
organization.
I moved a bit because basically what appeared from Christian expectations and so on, it's clearly that's the most important point, to be able to generate custom binaries on demand. That's the most important. And Damien is not here, but he would have cried and he would have screamed, sorry, and tell all his own desire to get SOFA SPM. I think it gets really. And that's funny that it's all in the same packaging project, but it goes directly with the modularization aspects, because
that is right. But actually, I will do this instead. Because using SPM using SPM would be really beneficial if it was with binaries, not with sources. I know it can do both. But it's really interesting if it's for managing binary stuff instead of sources. So building everything cleanly, everything independently first, and then adding the SPM source, and it's awesome. So even this one, I'm not sure, but the idea is to focus on these two mainly.
Right.
But the thing, I will come back to the point of Jean-Nicolas, and for the plugins, we need to do fast trimming.
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm not even speaking about component and flexib, which personally I want to remove, but yes. But I saw some plugins. I'm sure it's been 3 or 4 years and nobody looked into. I have to first do some vote, like in the two next Wednesday meetings, we can do some trimming.
To do what?
Some trimming.
Trimming? What does it mean? It's some kind of cutting?
It's cutting, remove,
okay.
moving.
Okay. Okay.
Deprecating, whatever you want.
All right. But yes, we definitely need to be more, I would say, not strict, but realistic in the way we are keeping all the old plugins and so on.
That's why I'm encouraging everybody to come to the Wednesday morning meeting, because like that you can vote or unvote or whatever for that or this plugin.
Yeah, and we remind you, and it's not the first time, that the roadmap can move and change during the next months. So if there is any change or any move of some tasks, it is decided during the dev meetings.
Yeah, and it's a good point that we need also to discuss a bit more regularly, and that's we are telling that ourselves every month or every 2 months, but to browse again all the roadmap tasks every week, so that we see what is progressing, what is not progressing, and just updating that.
We do it better and better, I think.
Yeah, I think we are done. So for tomorrow, there have been discussions expected on the system resolution and visitorless aspects. Discussion on the which plugin to keep to maintain. That would be also interesting. And
it's tomorrow, okay.
Yeah, I mean tomorrow and day after tomorrow and day after tomorrow. If some people want to talk, I think it could be cool to have this visitorless discussion also together with Christian, Jean-Nico, Fred. Could be very cool. I think it's an interesting topic. And there will be the coding sprint tasks. So to take all the tasks and to start fixing some issues and solving them and so on. Okay.
When can we have the discussion?
I would for discussions I would recommend to do that in the morning, so that when people are
tomorrow morning.
Yeah, is that fine?
Yeah. Okay.
And if some
starting at what time?
I mean, we're gonna restart at 9 tomorrow again. So if you're up to at 9, it would be nice. Otherwise, we can say 10. I mean, for the coding sprint, 9 o'clock, and some discussions at 10. But I would really the earlier is the better, because we are a bit fresher, and it's my opinion.
No, but maybe for me it will be so. Yeah, I have to take care of the kids, so maybe 9:30 for me.
When would be
9:30?
9:30. Okay.
And we can start with the discussion on the what we said about.
About what we said, okay.
No, but I mean the how to build the system.
Yeah.
And the visitor-less program.
Yeah. For the non-build approach and visitor-less so far. Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you for staying that long and for supporting the online discussions and so on. Tomorrow discussions, tomorrow coding sprint. Do not, maybe Jean-Nico, a small update on the Mimesis side would be good. I'm gonna maybe do the same for the Epion side. Thierry is still here. Yes, Thierry, if you wanna join also for the coding sprint, to get involved.
I'm having other meeting tomorrow morning and afternoon, so likely not tomorrow, maybe.
But if you're on Friday on Thursday,
Thursday maybe, but yeah, we'll see.
And that's it for Ruilong. You can stay connected, Ruilong. We can continue a bit chatting. And good evening, everybody. As already said, Christian, to everyone on the channel, and see you tomorrow for further discussions and coding sprint. Okay.
Good, thank you.
Okay, guys.
Bye. Bye. See you.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao, Stefan.